Hi everyone, welcome back to Keep Talking About Mental Health here on Facebook. I'm Janae, and today I'm going to be talking about cognitive distortions. Cognitive distortions are irrational thoughts that can influence our emotions. Everyone experiences cognitive distortions to some degree, but in their more extreme forms, they can be maladaptive. So basically, they're ways of thinking that are normally negative and can change our perspective on what's actually really going on. Okay, so I'm going to share with you cognitive distortions. Magnification and minimization. Exaggerating or minimizing the importance of events. One might believe that their own achievements are unimportant or that their mistakes are excessively important. For example, if someone says, "Oh my gosh, you did so well on your science fair project," for example, you might be like, "Oh no, I really didn't do that well." Or if you're working on your science fair project and you see this mistake, you might say like, "Oh my gosh, this mistake, like I absolutely have to fix it. It's gonna ruin, like my whole project." Or you think in that way, and you kind of set it on a standard that's very high. That is magnification and minimization. Next one is catastrophizing, seeing only the worst possible outcome of a situation. Catastrophizing is when you're just absolutely thinking like the worst could happen, like, "Oh my gosh, we're gonna have a tornado," something like that. Or when you think of, I'm trying to think of a situation. Gosh, I should know this one. I use this one a lot actually. But it's basically just when you see the worst. It's just like, so with me having generalized anxiety disorder, or GAD, this is something that I struggle with a lot. And for example, when I go to school, for example, let's say it's the first day of school, and I'm like worrying. If I were to use this cognitive distortion for catastrophizing, I could say like, "Oh my gosh, like everyone there is going to hate me," or I could just come up with the worst possible outcome. Overgeneralization, making broad interpretations from a single or few events. I felt awkward during my first job interview. I'm always so awkward. So this is the one where you're just, you think that just because it happened, one time, that's just who you are. And that's not true. Magical thinking, the belief that X will influence unrelated situations. I am a good person. Bad things shouldn't happen to me. Magical thinking is kind of when you believe something that's it's just not related, and it can also be a part of paranoia or delusion, stuff like that. But this cognitive distortion can kind of be a little tricky. You gotta watch out for that one. Personalization, the belief that one is responsible for events outside of their own control. My mother is always upset. It must be because I have not done enough to help her. Which, with personalization, you feel bad, and you think that it's your fault when really you couldn't control it. And I've heard this one story where this little girl, her dad died during 9/11, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, if I wish that if I could have done this, or if I could have done that." She was using a lot of personalization, and it's something that she couldn't even control. She couldn't control that her dad died during that. There was nothing that she could have done to change that. Jumping to conclusions. Interpreting the meaning of a situation with little or no evidence. Jumping to conclusions. This cognitive distortion is actually really popular. You hear someone say, you're going to get in a car accident if you don't back up in this certain direction or something. That's automatically jumping to a conclusion. Mind reading. Interpreting the thoughts and beliefs of others without adequate evidence. She would not go on a date with me. She must think I'm ugly. Now this, with mind reading, you're automatically saying like, this is what the other person is thinking. And you don't know, because no one's a mind reader. No one knows what other people are thinking. But you kind of ruminate about it, and you think with your own beliefs that that's what they're thinking. Fortune telling. An example for fortune telling could be, this party is going to end in a disaster. Now, you don't know if the party is going to end in a disaster, but yet you're predicting the future. Emotional reasoning. The assumption that emotions reflect the way things really are. I feel like a bad friend, therefore I must be a bad friend. Disqualifying the positive. Recognizing only negative aspects of a situation while ignoring the positive. One might receive many compliments on an evaluation but focus on the single piece of negative feedback. This was also a cognitive distortion that I've been struggling with. With OCD, I do have some kind of rituals on things being just right, or to other people it seems like I'm a perfectionist, and that's something that I struggle with, because it could just be this one little detail, and I'm like, if I could just fix that one little detail, then it would be just right. Should statements. The belief that things should be a certain way. I should always be friendly. With should statements, you put yourself, how do I explain it? You set a standard for yourself. Some people set unattainable standards. They put the standard all the way up here, and they set goals that they can't meet, and then they get frustrated. All or nothing thinking. Thinking is absolute, such as always, never, or every. I never do a good job on my homework. All or nothing thinking is kind of like black or white thinking. But now that you know what cognitive distortions are, how can we refrain from using them? Some of the things that we can use to help is trying to keep a positive mind and being a thought detective. Whenever you suspect that you're using one of these cognitive distortions, try to change your thought. For example, she would not go on a date with me. She must think I'm ugly. This one is for mind reading. Say to yourself, do I really know what she's thinking? She could think I'm a wonderful person. She could think I'm beautiful. You know what I mean? So, mind reading, you never know. You never know what the other person is thinking. Let me try to find another example here. I felt awkward during my first job interview. I'm always so awkward. Kind of like someone saying, I got an E on my math test, and I'm always going to get E's on my math test. It's always going to be like that. And this one also falls in the category of fortune telling as well. So watch out for those. But like I said before, try to be a thought detective and see when you're getting these thoughts, and try to turn the thought around and to make it more positive instead of negative. So, yeah. Thank you guys for listening.